from The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. After all, the best part of a holiday is perhaps not so much to be resting yourself, as to see all the other fellows busy working.
Welcome back to the Reading Room Ruffians, your favorite library podcast. Today is our general book chat. This is Mallory, and I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm joined by my bookish babe, BFF Ariel.
Wow.
Our Supreme Overlord Carla is back, and we are recording from our library in Jackson County, West Virginia.
I'm not sure we're going to make it through this one.
Zach, just some nerd we found on the street, is coming to us from Seattle, Washington.
You fed me once, now you're stuck with me.
Before we get to it, you can find our Facebook group by searching Reading Room Ruffians Podcast, which is linked to our library's Facebook page at facebook.com/Jackson County Library WV. You should give us a follow on TikTok and Instagram at WVJCO Library and give our podcast Goodreads page a look, which we have linked in our episode description along with our personal Goodreads pages. All right, who wants to start off on our book chat journey?
I'll start. Okay, so I finally read the last book in the Serafina series. It's called Serafina and the Seven Stars. Fantastic series. I finally got Mallory to start reading it.
Yeah, that's actually a book that I was going to talk about.
Yeah! Anyways, so I don't want to give too much away, but Serafina is this, she's 13 in this book, so she's a teenage girl. And she lives in this house called the Biltmore, which is actually a real house that you can go tour in North Carolina. And she used to live in the sub-basement with her father, who was a mechanic, and the people who owned the house didn't know she lived there. She was kind of like hidden. Her father is not her real father. He found her in the woods.
That's a spoiler.
I mean, sorta. I'm not giving too much away.
Not too much.
Not too much. Anyways, you find out in the first book that they're not related. But so that's why he hid her. So in this book, her best friend Brayden, who is the master of the house's nephew, has to leave to go to school in New York, right? And so she's facing all this stuff on her own. And there's something going on and she can't figure out what it is because a bunch of hunters came to the house because they always host hunting season. And something out in the woods killed a whole group of them. And she doesn't know what it is. She can't figure out what's going on. And she believes that she saw the master of the house murder one of the cooks. So, it's a big, huge ordeal because the master of the house is not someone who would do that. He's a very kind and understanding man. And she just can't figure out what is going on. So she, obviously does her normal thing and tries to figure out what's going on, solves the mystery, saves the day. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a fantastic book. It's a very quick read. It's only, when listening to it, it's only about 8 hours, I think. It is a juvenile book, but, it's a fantastic series, and you should definitely pick them up and read them. They're really, really good. Okay, that's it. That was it. I was going to say, I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah. So Serafina and the Black Cloak is the first one. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit hard for me at first, just because she is a little girl. And, sometimes little girls just have things in their own minds. Like, I'm going to do this my way. I say this as one of those girls.
I was going to say, Mallory was definitely like, how did you not just want to kill her for being like this? And I was like, just keep reading.
So now I want to apologize to my parents formally. but yeah, the book definitely, you go some wild places. It's actually kind of for little kids, it's definitely creepy. It kind of gave me creepy vibes in a couple of spots that were, unexpected. And there was a really awesome twist at the end that I liked. I'm not going to say what I had talked to Ariel about, but there were a couple of times that I really thought there was something else going on with Serafina. And Yeah, that one tracked. It was really cool, and I loved that. That was really. I'm excited to read the next one.
Yeah, I would say these are definitely fantasy, maybe / thriller kind of books, just because they have that little bit of a creepy aspect, especially for younger kids. But it's more like, Harry Potter, where he has to like fight Voldemort. That kind of creepy in a way. Because I remember being a kid listening to Harry Potter, and me and Zach both being like, "No, I'm not getting out of bed to change the cassette." Show our age there. Because Voldemort's on the loose.
Yeah, so that was a really good one. I loved it.
I'm glad. I've told her, I was like, you need to read these. They're so good. So I'm glad she's finally done it. Do you have a book?
I'm reading one. I'm not real prepared because I thought we were doing something else today. So the one I'm reading right now is called Braiding Sweetgrass. And I cannot remember who wrote it. And I'm only 3 chapters in. But so far, it is really good, and I definitely want to finish it. It started out with, it's about the sweetgrass like that Native Americans use to like bless things and how it came to pass. And it starts out with the myth of the first woman, or the first person on earth, their creation myth, which was really interesting. She compared it to the Christian creative, like I guess the Genesis. Anyway, a woman, she was falling from the sky. And some geese saw her, and they saw that she was in trouble, so they kind of flew underneath her and supported her with their wing on their backs and set her down gently. But everything was water. There was no land at this time. And a turtle came up, and she could stand on the turtle. And then some of the other animals came up. They were all very helpful, and they were like, you need some dry land to stand on. You need somewhere to be because you're not a water animal. So they took turns. I mean, it was like otters and all kinds of aquatic animals, ducks that tried to go down to the bottom of the ocean, which was really far, and bring up some land, some mud, so that she could build something to stand on. Well, everybody tried and no one was succeeding. And finally, Muskrat, the weakest swimmer of them all, tried. And they waited and waited and nothing happened. And they were all starting to worry because some of the other ones hadn't come back up either. And about that time, they saw little bubbles coming up and Muskrat floated to the top. But Muskrat had drowned.
Aww.
But in his paw, he had a little bit of mud. And they got it, and she spread it all over the turtle's back, and that's where Turtle Island came from, the first. But this one was based on working with a bit cooperation and giving and stuff like that, whereas the Christian creation myth, and I say that not to offend people, but just because it goes along with what the book's talking about. The first woman she was like the root cause of all the problems, basically. So it's a total different way of how they view giving and life afterwards, where in the natives, it was very working with the earth, working with the animals, being very kind and cooperative and giving. And the Christian one was like, it was constant hardship for her.
Can I just say that the most unbelievable part of that myth right now is the fact that geese helped?
Well, yeah, geese can be, this was like early on before they realized what people were like, I guess. And
angry little things.
They are. Yeah. Geese are pretty mean. But anyway, it's like, and then they talked about like the sweetgrass was one of the first plants to come, and it smelled so good, and it still reminds you of the first woman. I think they called her Star Woman, the way she smelled. And when you braid sweetgrass, you get a bundle and you divide it into 3 and you tie it off, but somebody has to help you hold that one end while you braid it, and then you hold the end of theirs while they braid it. So it's like a way of communicating and giving and sharing, and that's the reason they use it, because of the smell and the fact that it's like a cooperative thing to bless things. So far, I'm only 3 chapters in, but it's a really interesting and different way of looking at the world. So
I like that a lot better, honestly. It's very nice.
I think it's going to be, I'm looking forward to finishing it.
I like the working with nature aspect of that, honestly. And the fact that the first person was a woman.
Yeah. And she was pregnant and she had a daughter.
Even better.
Then it gets kind of sad because the daughter dies in childbirth with twins.
Aww.
Now, I don't know how the daughter got pregnant. There's no mention of that.
Yeah. Asexual reproduction.
Maybe. But
if only.
Anyway, that's as far as I got.
Well, Zach, do you have a book now?
I do have a book. I have a few, but let's go with the first one, which I didn't like very much. Well, okay, so I want to talk about this one because a bunch of people think it's very good, and I don't get it, but maybe it's just because...
It's another one of those.
This one is, well, okay, apparently people who actually, read like this book. It's not just, a bunch of newbies coming in. This is called The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And the idea is you've got this collection of students who are under this really charismatic classics professor. They're learning Greek and like a bunch of other stuff. Basically, all their classes are taken with the same guy. He apparently knows everybody, like famous and whatnot. And you think he's going to be some super big part of the book. He's absolutely useless. He's not even really needed as a character. The whole premise is, though, you got the group. There's like, I think 5 of them. See, there's twins, 6 of them, including our, I guess, protagonist person. And 4 of them break off to do some other thing where they're trying to have this like old Greek revelation thing happen to them. They succeed in this, and they all sort of like don't remember exactly what happened during that time, but they come out of their like stupor, and it turns out they've killed a guy. And then it's
the students.
The students had killed a guy. Yes, the students killed a guy. The 4 who went into this like Greek revelation thing. I can't remember what they called him. Not important. Anyway, so they killed a guy, and then the rest of the book is them dealing with one of their other people who they think is going to be like spoil things, and then they end up killing him too. And that's not really a spoiler because they say at the very beginning of the book in like the first chapter, I think, that they kill this guy later on. And then the rest of the book is them dealing with the fallout from that. And they never get caught or anything. It's never really that like scary that they might get caught, but it's just it reads as like a bunch of rich kids, aside from the main character, just dealing with being awful people. And they're just all awful the whole book, and nothing happens. I thought there was going to be something weird supernatural happen. Nope. I thought that the professor might be a cool character. Nope, he's just useless. And everybody just like spirals down into nothing. And it's just the worst book. It's not the worst book. It's like very well written, and it's interesting at times, but I don't know. I'm not into this like, I guess, character study of awful people type books. Like, it's the same sort of thing with like The Magicians, right? Like the focus is in the wrong spot for me, and I didn't like The Magicians. I really don't like this either. I don't know. They're just a bunch of whiny kids the whole time. Yeah. Whiny privileged kids, and I just can't stand it. I'm also just not a big fan of the whole dark academia thing unless there's like some sort of crazy thing where they're trying to summon an eldritch god or whatever. That would be dope. But no, this is
make it interesting.
And make it interesting.
Bad, right?
If they're going to be evil, please. Okay, I don't mind them being evil. That's not the issue. It's the fact that they're whiny. That's the issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was for my like workbook club, and it's a long book too. It's like 560 pages. It's a juicy one, and it's just She won a literary award for this novel, too. Like, it's very well written, but I just don't understand why people like it so much.
Oh, I got a little side note. Travis was in the other day, and his book will be out probably maybe before Christmas, definitely by the first of the year.
Yeah.
Nice. That's fun.
Ariel, you want to go next?
Sure. Okay. So I have not really finished any other books, but I am reading 2. I did finish the Terry Pratchett book.
Yeah.
Oh, wasn't that good? It was sad, but it was good. It was a good book. She's giving me an evil look.
I sobbed so much. It was incredibly hard to listen to someone that I respect and love so much deteriorate. Mm-hmm. Like, that was incredibly hard.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, yes, I did finish it. It was a great book. I think people should definitely read it, especially if you like Terry Pratchett. So yeah. But anyways, so I will move on to a book that I have been reading for months now. I'm reading the physical copy of it, and it's so incredibly hard for me to find time to sit down and read.
Yeah.
Like, I can get maybe 20 pages at a time before my kids are like, Mom, let's do this. Mom, let's do that. Or I have homework that I got to finish, or work makes me come in.
Yeah, she's got a really bad boss.
Frickin' work. Am I right?
Though I was here for 3 hours yesterday, not having to be.
Yeah,
I was just here hanging out.
I will say it made me very happy, though.
Oh, yes. Okay, anyway, so this book, I don't think that I've talked about it, but maybe I have. It's called Our Hideous Progeny. Zach's girlfriend actually bought it for me when I was visiting him. Yeah. I am a little over halfway through with it, and it's really good. It's very Frankenstein-esque. It's about a woman. She's the main character, and you see most things from her point of view. Like, I think there's been a couple, like, little small snippets that were from, like, somebody else, but most of it's from her point of view. She is married to this man who's also in the science community, and she's very, very interested in science, but it takes place back when women were not allowed to do certain things like that.
Yeah.
So she makes illustrations for these men and sells them, and that's how they make money. And she helps her husband do research and all this stuff. Well, they've decided, because her husband was stupid. We will save my thoughts for that. He decided to gamble and got rid of all their money, all their savings.
Love that.
Super in debt. And his dad passed away, and he said, the only thing that I'm leaving him is money to pay off his debts, and then one, like, what is equivalently like $1 for us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That was all he was leaving. And left his sister, like, their house and the property and all his money and stuff like that. Because they just didn't get along. So she's, like, stressed.
Yeah.
Obviously. Well, she decides that they need to do something crazy to get in the science community, to get back in their good graces, so her husband can, you know, get another job because he got kicked out of the community because he was dumb.
Don't sugarcoat it. Don't sugarcoat it.
I'm not. Because he's dumb. He's stupid. I hate reading about men from back then because I'm like, y'all are idiots. This makes me so angry. And I mean, she doesn't forgive him. Like, she will go weeks without talking to him.
Good.
And I'm like, yes. Anyways, so she decides that they need something crazy. So she goes searching through all their, like, papers and all their books and everything like that. And she ends up finding a box that came from her great uncle, I believe it was. And she finally is able to get it open because she can't figure out why her uncle wanted to save this box from a house fire when there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there was nothing in it, and she couldn't figure it out. Well, she finally found the secret compartment and had all these notes and letters from her other great uncle, like his brother.
Yeah.
Where he created something and it was hunting him down.
Oh.
It was Frankenstein's monster. Her uncle
was Frankenstein.
Dr. Frankenstein.
That's really cool.
Yeah, right? So she, like, is reading these things and she's like, this is what we're going to do. So they start paying, like, the little boys who, you know, are out in the street trying to look for jobs and stuff like that. They're paying them to bring them freshly dead rats.
Oh.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And
I've gotten to the point where they've brought one back to life for about 5 seconds and then it died.
Oh my.
And they can't recreate it. They can't figure out what exactly it was that happened with this particular rat that made it come back to life, but they're making progress. So they decide to get up and leave and go live with her husband's sister, who she's very, very close to now. I'm convinced that she's a lesbian. Yeah.
Maybe
that's not a thing for back then, you know.
Yeah.
They couldn't be.
Oh no, they were just really good friends and roommates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Or in this case, sister-in-laws. Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure her sister-in-law is also.
Yeah.
Now, nothing has happened yet, so we're waiting to see. But most of the story is more this scientific experiment and, like, where she's going with it and what they're doing. And her husband's like, can we go to bed now? And she, like, at one point looks over at her, like, little beakers and vials and stuff like that and what she's working on. And she thinks, I really need to redo this. And she's like, you go ahead. I'll be up later. So I'm convinced that she's going to be the one who figures it out.
Absolutely.
Brings something back to life. And then probably her husband will take credit.
He's going to take credit. Absolutely.
So obviously I haven't finished this book yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll finish it. I'm trying so hard. I started it in July and I have not had time, but it's very, very good. It was a great pick, and I'm very glad that she bought it for me. So
that does sound pretty good.
Yeah, it's very good.
I don't think that sounds like too scary, so I
it's
probably
not
could read
scary
that for
at
sure.
all. It's just, it's very, very interesting. It is by C.E. McGill. So check it out.
Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about was Ariel's book club book for us, The Archive Undying. I gave this one 3 stars, but I really think if I listen or read it again, I would like it better. I really felt like in the beginning of the book that I kind of was supposed to already know what was going on and the history of what had happened. And I kind of got the feeling that something happened, but it didn't actually happen. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's a cool setting and the ideas are really cool as well. I just could not super get into it. I don't know if it was just my brain space or I just am really stupid. It's really 50-50 there. I really wasn't sure I was even going to finish it. I was thinking about just returning it and then coming back later for it and trying again from the beginning. But I pushed through, and like there in the middle, I really actually had a strong idea of what was going on. And then the end happened and I was like, I have no idea what happened anymore. Like, I don't know what we're doing. So yeah, I gave it 3 stars, but hopefully I will read it again probably like next year and go from there.
Yeah, I did start that one, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. I didn't get very far into it before my loan was starting to expire.
Yeah.
Just because, time.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm struggling. But, I could definitely see where it's just not you being dumb. It's just,
it is a lot.
It's just a lot.
Yeah.
So
I think I would have to like tandem read it, like listen and read
Yeah.
to really piece it together.
Yeah, I see it because it was my book club pick and I didn't even finish it. So
I also think it would be really cool as a graphic novel, probably. I think it would be way cooler as one of those. So you could actually visualize a lot of what's going on. Because I think that is the big aspect of it. And I'm not really into the whole like mecha, like sci-fi thing. So I'm not really sure how to picture that. So I think that had a lot to do with it as well. But it was a really cool premise. And what happened in the end was actually like, it was pretty cool. And I still am not sure if what I thought happened actually happened or if it was just, I don't know how to explain it other than that. But I liked it. But I gave it 3 stars just because I could not follow fully.
After reading like the little bit of a description and seeing the cover and stuff, because I forgot about this book, it gives me like Horizon Zero Dawn vibes. If you guys have ever seen or heard of that, have you?
Nope.
No.
Very post-future world. There's giant robots running around and, I don't know, people hunt them and stuff. It's kind of neat. This one, it doesn't sound like they hunt the robots, but it's kind of fun.
Well, they kind of do, but they also kind of don't. I don't really know how to explain that. Like, there used to be like robot gods, essentially, or AI, I guess. And
so this is like a sequel to
corrupted.
Side.
I mean, kind of. Yeah, kind of, I guess. It was like the AI corrupted and a lot of bad stuff happened.
The Thunderhead would never.
Never. And it's a whole lot of, basically there are leftover little smaller mech AI beings that the bigger ones created. And they kind of just roam around and once in a while will attack like ships, like transport ships and stuff like that. So like they hunt them down in that respect, but they don't go out of their way to, I don't guess. So it's kind of hard to gauge what actually is happening because what's happening. But yeah, I think it's worth a read to anyone who has read anything like that before. Like I said, I think I'm gonna try again another time. But yeah, that was The Archive Undying by Emma Miko Candon.
Yeah, I want to read this book now. It looks dope.
It did look really good. That's why I picked it.
It gives me Horizon Zero Dawn vibes because what you're describing is basically the story of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot more. I don't know. I have no idea what that book is, but there's a lot in there that I genuinely could not begin to explain. There's a lot. But yeah, it was nice. I would say I could understand it more.
This is definitely for people who read science fiction.
Yeah, like mech stuff, specifically. Because I read sci-fi, but usually mine is like magic or I don't know, other
like Harry Dresden or Brandon Sanderson.
That's more fantasy
Those are
than
both
sci-fi.
fantasy, yeah.
Yeah, they're cataloged as science fiction in our library.
Yeah,
well, that's because we can only have so many spine levels because of the way the system's set up.
Well, I'm just saying, like that's where you would find them in ours, but yeah, this is more like hardcore science fiction.
Yeah, and most of my science fiction is like pure and, like other things that are like more post-apocalyptic, but they're is definitely sciencey stuff that goes on there.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's more my wheelhouse. The whole mech beings are not. I mean, it's a cool concept. I think I definitely am going to try it again. And I think I might read more like it, but in time.
Yeah, hardcore science fiction is way different from fantasy, and you really have to have a whole different mindset.
Yeah, the hard sci-fi, like anything by Alistair Reynolds or whoever wrote Hyperion, stuff like that. It's intense. Asimov. Yeah.
I went to a dinner last night for the humanities, and they had a science fiction writer, and he also does nonfiction stuff, speaking, which I cannot remember his name off the top of my head right now. It was someone I had never heard of. So he does a lot with the internet and AI type stuff in his writings and his research. And I sat through this hour-long lecture and did not understand half of it because he used a lot of initials I am not familiar with, referring to programs and systems and stuff like that. I thought, wow, I'm like failing the library world here because I don't know who this person is to start with. And then I can't understand what he's talking about.
Yeah, I talked to her last night and she was telling me about it. I was like, he's just throwing the alphabet out at you. And you weren't getting it.
I was not. But the funny thing with the person I was with, she was like, it's 9:00. This is longer than I expected it to be. She's like, if these are the last 2 questions, we'll go after them. And then 3 minutes later, he was still answering. It took him like 10, 15 minutes to answer questions.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, he was in depth with his knowledge, but I just didn't get it. But it was that hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my gosh, they're lining up. I'm like, do you want to go? She's like, yep. So we like got up and left.
Ran
because
out.
it was like, I mean, that was a long time. I mean, it started at 5:30.
Yeah.
And the dinner was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely amazing. But it was a long night. So we left before he got done talking.
Yeah, you weren't back whenever we had left. And I was like,
yeah,
wow.
I know. Because I went and looked and saw that her car was still there. And I was like, what the heck? And then I had called her on the way home. And she called me back right at 10:00.
Oh, wow.
That's when we got back into Ripley.
Yeah.
Wow.
She was like, sorry, it's so late. And then she was telling me about the dinner. And I was like, dang.
Well, the dinner was amazing. The actual dinner itself, it was like, and that they gave up pieces of cake that was, I've never seen any kind of dessert that large before. I mean, it was literally
Love that.
like 5 inches tall and a huge wedge. I mean, it was like a chunk of cake. I couldn't even eat it all.
Wow.
That sounds like a lot.
It was tons. And it was amazing. It was done by the culinary students at the University of Charleston. So the asparagus and mashed potatoes and
I love asparagus.
chicken with some kind of hollandaise sauce. It was really good.
Ooh.
But I mean, the people I met and talked to were really interesting.
Yeah.
But it's just, I didn't know the author.
Yeah.
But it was that hard sci-fi.
What was the place called? What the conference called?
It's a university. It was a humanities dinner, like for the Humanities Council.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to look it up. I was trying to look it up to see if they had
Was it the Community Foundation?
No.
No?
No,
Oh,
this is the
okay.
Humanities Council for the state.
Well, I didn't know if they...
And there was a lot of librarians there that I knew from the conference and stuff like that,
That's
which was
cool.
kind of surprised me.
I think that the Community Foundation had something coming up, which is why I was thinking
They did. They had something last night too.
Oh, okay. Okay. Then I guess that's why I thought, okay, that's good to know.
Yep. Okay, so anybody else got any other books, or do I need to go on to another one?
Well, I'm reading like several books at the same time right now because I figure it's like watching TV shows from when I grew up. Like you watch an hour here, a week later you watch another hour, but you do it all week long. But I must be on a Native American kick because this one's it's called the Hopi Survival Guide. And being the conspiracy person that I am, I thought this is going to be like all about like the end of the world type stuff. It's not really. It's good and it's interesting. It's about how the Hopi's prophecies came about, like from thousands of years ago, and how they were tasked to keep the world in balance. And they were given this land, the sacred land that they lived on, which has slowly been eroded by the U.S. government, and how they're trying to adapt to that and deal with losing their sacred spaces, their sacred, like petroglyphs type stuff, and how some of them are being corrupted to the point where they're called progressives and they want to do more, I guess, normal people stuff like we would do.
Yeah.
Because they stole their children a generation before and made them go to boarding schools.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't sign the paper to go to the boarding school, you were put in jail. And the Hopi, most of them, other native tribes would sign the papers.
Yep.
But they went to jail.
Yep.
And stayed in jail for years. which like messed up the whole family unit too because they took all the men. They stole the kids anyway. They took the men.
Yep.
And it left the women, the real young kids, and the older people. So it was like, I mean, they were treated pretty bad, but they're still hanging on to these traditions and beliefs, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Good for them.
But I haven't got through the book, so I don't know how it ends and if we're, what the apocalypse will be. But anyway, it's pretty interesting.
Speaking of Native Americans, that made me think of a book that I read when I was a kid. Have you read The Beaded Moccasins?
Don't think so.
Oh, man. That's such a good book. I read
remember
that.
that being a thing, but I don't actually know if I read it.
I read it when I was in elementary school, and it's about a white girl who was kidnapped by Native Americans. And I think it was her and her brother, maybe, or her and a neighbor or something like that. But the other kid ended up getting scalped.
Oh my
and
God.
dying, right? And like they make her travel with them, and she ends up getting very, very tan and very like calloused, and her hair was blonde, ends up like darkening with like dirt and stuff like that. So she kind of blends in with them after a while, and it gets to the point where they kind of accept her as one of their own, and the chief gives her a pair of beaded moccasins that I think it was either his daughters or something like that. I don't know. It was like a family thing. And she has a chance to go back to like, not her family, because her family I think was killed, and she chooses to stay with them.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a really good book.
Sounds like it.
Not to like off track and take somebody else's turn,
Well, no,
but that just made me think of it.
Chat. Like it doesn't have to be like super recent, I don't think.
Yeah.
Always anyway.
All right, Zach, you want to talk about one of yours?
All right. So
Yeah.
So because
he was like ready.
It is.
He's like, as soon as she's done.
Because it's spoopy season, we got Pet Sematary, which was...
It was you reading that one?
Yes.
I saw that in Libby, and I thought, Mama's not reading that.
No, not me, man. Not me.
Pet Sematary was fantastic. It's one of the better Stephen King books I've read. It actually has it's not like a happy ending, but a good ending. It's got an interesting ending, unlike half of his books, like The Stand or whatever. Speaking of, everybody should read The Stand at least once. It's amazing, but the ending sucks.
No thanks.
The ending sucks so bad.
No.
Anyway, so Pet Sematary. The basic premise is that you have this cemetery. Let me see if it actually has this on the book jacket. I don't know if people like... It's obvious it's going to happen. Anyway, so there's a cemetery close to these people's house. And if you bury things in it, they come back to life, right? That's the premise of Pet Sematary.
Best time.
So
Immediately,
it's the best
I'm out.
time. I love it.
Yeah.
Let me have some zombie cats.
actually, so it starts
No
off with the
way.
zombie cat. That's kind of fun. These people, they move to a more rural place in Maine to get some like teaching position. No, not teaching position. Doctor's position at a university. And this dude's neighbor, the main character, his neighbor, comes over and talks to him and stuff like that. They become friends. He's like 80 years old, so it's kind of fun. But he tells them eventually, there's this really cool place that you can go to. It's called the Pet Cemetery. So they go up there, and it's just like a normal little cemetery, but people bury all their pets there, right? And it's sort of like ominous because there's just like deadfall in one spot, and it looks like there's a path that goes on past it. And eventually, the inevitable happens. The cat that they have at their house dies, right? While the dude's daughter, the main character's daughter, is away visiting family. And because it dies, and because the neighbor knows about the thing that goes past the normal pet cemetery, he goes up and he tells him, if you want to, we can... Well, he doesn't even say we can bring it back. He says, just take the cat and follow me. And they go all the way out there. He buries it. They come back, and the next day the cat comes back, but it's wrong. Something is wrong about it. And it smells really bad, like it's been dead. And he tries to rationalize this away, but he can't because there's clearly something wrong with the cat. And when the daughter and mom get back from traveling, they can tell something's wrong with the cat too, but they don't know what it is. They just keep saying that he smells bad. And the daughter doesn't want him around. She loves that cat. She like called him specifically to ask about the cat. No, not smelly cat. Oh my God.
I'm glad you didn't hear mine.
I didn't. No, I was too in the zone. But anyway, so I think you can sort of extrapolate from there what might happen since it's a Stephen King horror book and what might continue from that. But it gets pretty messed up. It's very atmospheric, very interesting. There's clearly some sort of external power at work here from the further graveyard. And there's some weird stuff that happens in it, but it's very interesting. I liked it a lot.
Can I just say that I have not read this book or seen the movie, but I saw a meme for this book or movie the other day, and it was like the old man, and it was like the Pikachu meme where he's like shocked. You know what I'm talking about? And he's like, you tell the people how to use the pet cemetery, and then they use it. And it's like shocked Pikachu. It was very funny.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
I've visited a pet cemetery once. Those are weird. Like, people have mausoleums or giant statues as headstones for their, like, fish. It's just, like, weird.
That's a lot.
It's weird. I went to one up around, like, Charleston or Hurricane or something like that. I don't know where I was. I wasn't driving.
Interesting.
I was dating a guy, and he was like, let's go here.
Okay.
Red flag.
Apparently, this pet cemetery, somebody brought a cow to it, which is
Whoa.
crazy because it was like miles into the woods up a hill. I don't know how they got the cow there.
How?
I don't know. That's the thing. It was a prize bull, and then they killed it later.
Four-wheeler? Okay, so
no.
Like I said, I haven't read this book, but I'm assuming this cat ate people.
Did the cat ate people? Interesting.
Yeah, because it's a cat and it's a zombie. So like, best of both worlds. Let's go nom on some people.
I mean, I don't blame him.
I watched, it was a little YouTube thing. This guy had studied, I don't know how he studied. I didn't even ask that question. But it's like that if you die, maybe it's just he had been in houses that after so many days without food, the cats will start eating the person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They usually start with their nose or something.
Yeah, the
which is lovely.
soft, fleshy bits. Yeah.
Yeah, but dogs will starve to death before they'll eat their.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I have too many cats.
I saw somebody was like, don't give me crap about, cats this, cats that. Cats will eat me when I die. And they're like, she's just a sweet little baby who can't have anybody come in and open her can of Purina indoor cat chow and give her half a scoop. So just let her eat my body. My soul is in heaven and my body is hers.
I mean, that's basically my opinion of it, too. I'm not going to lie.
I think Kiko is too dumb and she would starve.
She might starve to death. Artemis would be fine for a little bit.
Artemis would eat you in a heartbeat.
He tries to eat me now, I swear.
Okay, so my next book is another rom-com. Everybody's surprised, including me. It was cute though. It's called Bad Luck Charm and it's by Julie Johnson. It actually came out in August and I read it as an ebook. I don't know that it has anyway, it's about Gwen and she owns an occult shop in downtown Salem, Massachusetts. And, of course it's going into the Halloween season. So her shop's gearing up. She's had a woman working there with her for a while. And she's the barista. Well, not Gwendolyn, the barista that works for her. So anyway, weird stuff starts happening and the police find I don't know how to politely say this, but like a chopped up donkey. And it's placed in a way outside of the back of her shop. And it says in Latin, "We shall rise again," something like that. And she knows about this stuff. She doesn't believe in it. Like her aunt owned the shop before her and she wasn't ever expecting to own the shop or live in the house or anything like that. But she decided to stay there. So she knows about all of this stuff. And so then the police are just kind of like, okay, you're doing this to yourself? Like, are you? And it turns out there are other murders that had happened. And so she has been like consulting, right? And there's this man that she had a huge crush on as a kid. And he is now best friends with her best friend's boyfriend. And they hate each other. They refuse to acknowledge each other. And whenever they do, it's very catty. So obviously we're going to end up falling in love.
Of course.
And yeah. And his name is Graham Graves. And his family is like one of the big witch hunting families from Salem. And so he has his own security firm, I guess. And he does kind of like bounty hunting, I guess. But he does other consulting for like the state, the local PD, and even I guess like the feds once in a while. And he's on this case because it's really weird. And yeah, it turns out that she is like the subject, like she's in trouble. And yeah, it's a whole big thing. And yeah, they end up falling in love. It's really cute. That's it. I don't want to give anything else away. I highly recommend it. It was adorable. I laughed a lot. Gwen is hilarious. And a lot of the times there's a scene where her and her best friend, this Graham guy has told them, you're not to go and look at any of this. Like this guy, there's a person that has gotten involved with the Irish mafia.
Oh my God.
That lives in their town. Just like, no big deal, I guess. But anyway, and so he's told them, like, you're not to go looking. Like, this is not a joke. Like, don't. And,
here they go.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's
for
so
sure.
us.
Like I know, like Thelma and Louise style. Like they take her aunt's Thunderbird. They go to this woman's house. It's a whole big thing, and yeah, it's just absolutely hilarious. And they're trying to flee from the scene. And she can't turn that huge thing around, so she calls it like an 85-point turn.
Oh no!
There's a lot of really funny stuff in it. Highly recommend it. I loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we would so do that. We're so nosy. Like last night, there was somebody pulled over in our parking lot.
Yep.
I conveniently went out to my car to get a drink of water, so I could hear what was going on.
Wow.
They were out there for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I needed to know.
It had been a while.
Needed to know. Okay, so my next book that I want to talk about, I have not read yet. It's not even released yet, and I'm so excited for it. So I'm pretty sure that I have discussed the Murderbot Diaries series before.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Love Murderbot. My absolute favorite. Okay. The new book, the 7th, 8th book, there's like a half book kind of in between that I've read, but on Goodreads it says it's number 7, but it's called System Collapse. And I pre-ordered it, and I forgot I pre-ordered it until I went to look in Audible again and realized I had pre-ordered it. And I was like, I love me.
That means it's free, by the way. If you pre-ordered and you forgot about it,
it's free.
Yeah,
it's free.
Book math.
It's free now.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so I want to read you the synopsis for this and then the first comment because it's fantastic. For those who don't know, Murderbot is a sec unit, which is like half robot, half human. And he worked for a company that protected assets. Now, these assets could be people, it could be property, it could just be whatever, you know. And he hacked his, essentially the computer that's in his brain that would like fry his body if he goes against orders.
Woof.
Yeah, like they're disposable. Love him. He's amazing. Well, they never say it's a he. I just assume it's
androgynous,
a he because the narrator is a man.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So in my head, it's a he. Zach read him, and he thought of Sec Unit or Murderbot as a female. So
yeah. Also, the author is a woman. So I sort of
the author is Martha Wells.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says, "Am I making it worse? I think I'm making it worse. Everyone's favorite lethal Sec Unit is back. Following the events in Network Effect, the Barish Estranza Corporation has sent rescue ships to the newly colonized planet in peril, as well as additional sec units. But if there's an ethical corporation out there, Murderbot has yet to find it. And if Barish Estranza can't have the planet, they're sure as hell not leaving without something. If that something just happens to be an entire colony of humans, well, a free workforce is a decent runner-up prize. But there's something wrong with Murderbot. It isn't running with normal operation parameters. ART's crew, ART stands for Whole Research Transport. Just so we're all aware, and it's Murderbot's best friend. It's a sentient ship.
It is kind of sassy.
It's very sassy. I love ART. ART's crew and the humans from Preservation are doing everything they can to protect the colonists, but with Barish Estranza's Sec Unit heavy persuasion teams, they're going to have to hope Murderbot figures out what's wrong with itself and fast. Yeah, this plan is not going to work. All right, and the very first comment, this is how much of a following this series has, is another full-length novel entry in this series. I feel completely normal about this. Gnaws my entire fist. So I am very, very excited. It comes out on November 14th. So obviously I will start that November 14th.
Yeah.
So, yay, Murderbot. We're all excited, and that will be on our next general book chat.
Yeah.
That happens after November 14th. I can't remember when it happens, but they're so good. The first, I think it's the first 5 of them are very short. They're short little, maybe that thick, half an inch thick, 100, 200 pages. So they're very fast reads, but they're amazing. Amazing. On my Kindle, I have stickers from Murderbot that says, I'm having emotions right now. I hate this. He's amazing. Everybody should read Murderbot.
Yeah. Remind me to put that one on my list next.
I think it's on my demands.
Okay.
I think it's in my book demands.
Good. Was Serafina, by the way?
I don't know. I can look.
If not, add it that
way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'll add it to my book demands.
Zach, do you have any more?
Yeah, I got one more, but also, just as a little interstitial thing, it's Cory Doctorow, by the way.
That's it.
Cory Doctorow.
Have you heard of him?
No, I've not heard of him. I actually haven't. I was looking at his books. I haven't heard of any of his books either.
I hadn't either. I mean, the reason I was invited because she had heard that libraries were going nuts because this guy was coming. They were all excited.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to look him up.
I'm not a good librarian then because I don't.
I've never heard of him. Cory, is it Corey or just
Cory?
I think it's.
And it's Dr. O.W. Yeah, I haven't read any of these books that he's got.
He's very knowledgeable about the way the systems work and the different stuff. He's a little bit political too. He did have political comments that I really didn't think was necessary, but
he's read a lot of books.
He's 24 and he's won all kinds of awards. And people love the books. I just didn't know.
Is this a graphic novel? This looks like a graphic novel. Does he write those?
I don't know. I didn't. I was going to stay and pick up a couple for the library.
Yeah.
But by 9:00,
Too
it
much.
was yes. And he's still talking and people are still asking questions. And I'm like, I was glad that she was like, are you ready to go?
Yeah, he's a Canadian-British blogger and journalist is what it says here.
Yeah, he was inducted into the Canadian Science Fiction Hall of Fame. So
Yep. In Real Life is a young adult graphic novel.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, he does regular books too, and he does other young adult dystopian stuff and whatnot. But he's got bunches of different things, it looks like. The Internet Con, How to Seize the Means of Computation. I think I might have heard of this because it had a fun...
I think that's the most recent one, I think.
Yeah, it came out this year.
The guy that introduced him had read that one is the reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I recognize that title.
So the final book, we're going back to Peter Wolleben or whatever his name is. Hidden Life of Trees guy. Or the Secret Life of Trees, whatever it is.
Secret Life of Trees. Or maybe it was the Hidden.
So I like that one,
I
think, more. But I read his book, The Inner Life of Animals, Love, Grief, and Compassion, Surprising Observations of a Hidden World. This guy comes off as so arrogant and full of himself in this book. It's worse than the first one. At least that one, it's in his area of expertise, and he knows a thing about trees. This one, he's just saying, I kind of, I feel like this is probably true about animals. Like they have emotions and things and all this stuff. And the scientists will tell you one thing, but I think a different thing, and I'm right. And this is the whole book. I mean, yes, it's clear that animals have emotions and stuff like that, but he was trying to get some sympathy for ticks during this book. It's ridiculous.
What?
Yeah.
Ticks? I have no sympathy for them.
Me either. That's why I have Lyme.
Anyway, it was just so the stuff he does discuss about pigs and ravens, horses, stuff like that. He says the horses feel shame. I'm not entirely sure about that thing. I think that a lot of times people anthropomorphize human emotions onto animals. It's like the thing with dogs, right?
I think dogs do.
Well,
dogs definitely feel
think
shame.
Horses can. I don't think that maybe they do.
Not all of them per
yeah.
se, but some of them don't have 2 brain cells.
Yeah. And there are also some very sassy horses that I don't think would be able to feel shame.
Yeah, I really think it just depends.
I did it on purpose.
I think the potential is there. Now, not necessarily everyone does.
Yeah.
It's like people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I have no shame.
I think the primary issue is he's putting these emotions onto the animals based on his own experience without having any sort of controlled thing. He just thinks this is the way it is. And makes that sort of have a lot more weight than it really should, I think. Anyway, but like, I mean, but most of the stuff he says about the animals is like, I don't know. There's almost new information for me about like, ravens have names for their friends. He says rats regret bad choices, and it's sort of like a weird thing. Like, this is an interesting experiment. I think it is a bit far to say that they regret bad choices, though. It's like,
I don't.
Well, you can't know these things, and you can't like just put this stuff on here. You just like, you have a little bit of an inclination that there is something going on there. They're aware that that was a bad choice, but saying that they regret it, I don't think I don't think you can make that step.
This follows on the same animal experiment line. Have you all seen where they said? Sorry.
Yeah, sure saw that one.
You probably have. Have you seen the thing where they say that they made snails forget memories?
Yes.
Yes.
See, I told you you've seen it.
I've seen it.
Like, I have not.
How did they figure that
I don't know.
out?
How do you know
it's
that
like,
they have memories?
okay, so you say that, you don't think rats regret things. How would you really figure that out, though?
Well, they train them to do something, and then they do something horrible to them, and they can't remember how to do it after that, probably.
No, so
the snails?
The snails.
The snails thing, yeah. They like, I
don't know that would make them forget. Maybe they just have no memory. Like,
well, no, if they were trained to remember to go this path all the time,
that could just be muscle memory.
Well,
it's a kind of memory, though, is the point. And they can disconnect that sort of memory thing directly at the neuron level, apparently.
I think it's funny how we don't see any problem with stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if like, say a cat's playing with its prey, we think that's horrible. Or if a dog runs something to death, that's a horrible thing. They're doing it just for fun. And we do it just for fun, just because, it's like, we have
that's probably why
we have
cats
a huge
fully do that stuff just for fun.
Oh yeah, 100%,
1,000%. Dogs, maybe not. I think dogs really are just.
I think they're enjoying it
once they go,
but I don't think that they don't see it like we see it.
Yeah,
no, they don't understand that
because they're supposed
the death
to.
stuff.
They hunt.
That's ingrained in them. Yeah, I mean cats too, but I think cats are really just a lot more cold than dogs are. I love cats. Don't get me wrong.
They're the best.
I wish I weren't so allergic to cats. I would probably have 20 and they would just all sleep on me. But
no, trust me. That's not a good thing. I have too many that I love dearly.
Yeah.
It's like when they start piling in bed and they're huge anyway. There's no room. You don't sleep.
Yeah.
I don't need room. I have a weighted cat blanket.
Exactly.
But they don't lay still either. And then they get mad at each other.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
I think it would.
On that same line, I was watching my friend's dogs for a couple days. I think it was last week, the week before, and 4 of them piled on me when I was sleeping at night. It was awful.
That's too many dogs.
It's too many dogs. It's just they had 3, and then it was
to sleep with.
One of his brother.
I don't know about that either.
Yeah,
I think it's too many dogs.
I would just
own.
want like one very large room-sized bed, and all the animals just sleep with me.
that sounds miserable.
I would put them all in that. I would put them all in that room and shut the door and get somewhere else to sleep. It's like, have at it. The bed's yours. I am sleeping on the couch.
Oh,
maybe not every night, but I think I definitely would enjoy it.
Before we move on, I just wanted to say one more thing. The Pulitzer Prizes, because I'm out of books now. The Pulitzer Prizes were recently. I think by the time you listen to this book, it's going to be about a month. I mean, this podcast could be about a month out. But one of them in particular I wanted to talk about is that Barbara Kingsolver won the Pulitzer Prize in fiction for Demon Copperhead. And I didn't realize this, so I went to go see her with Chantel the other day at a book talk thing she was giving in Seattle. And she's from... I don't think she's from Kentucky. Is she from Kentucky? Yeah, she's from Kentucky or grew up there. And now she lives in Southwest Virginia. Not West Virginia, but Southwest Virginia.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not nearly as good.
That's really close. Anyway, but the whole point is she's... Apparently Demon Copperhead is all about just Appalachia.
Yeah.
The whole thing. I didn't know that. And she's got a bunch of books about it. And she talked about it a lot in her talk about how she wants to bring that sort of experience more into the mainstream, and she won a Pulitzer Prize, so clearly it's going to happen.
I'll have to read it now. I bought it because we had a request for it, but
yeah, no, I mean it's on my list. I feel like have the book.
Appalachian things are becoming more popular.
Yeah,
and I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I mean,
don't
it's
be
good
an
that we're not
Appalachian hipster.
seen as as it's
I might do it.
She's a hillbilly.
It's good that we actually get some recognition, but also when you get recognition, people start coming in and they start messing up your stuff.
Yes.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about people sharing information from Appalachia when they visited once.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm an expert. Yeah. And no, you're
you're
not. It's like I saw somebody, ask, what was your most Appalachian saying that you use? And listening to it, I've used all of them or I've heard them used. And I'm thinking, I wonder how many people actually know what this means. Like when someone says that's a gom. Do you know what a gom is? It's a mess. It's a mess. But how many people not in Appalachia know what a gom is?
Yeah.
It's like when my kids are being disgusting, I call them buzzards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're a little buzzard. I love buzzards.
It's like it's a fur piece up the holler.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we don't measure things in miles. We measure it in, sayings.
Yeah.
It's not mispronounced.
A fur piece?
A fur piece up a holler.
It's definitely a fair piece. You're just mispronouncing it.
Fur. It's a fur. It's a fur. F-E-R. Fur piece.
Hillbillies.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? Just because you moved out of West Virginia doesn't mean West Virginia moved out of you. So maybe you should start respecting it.
Whoa.
That's the sound of the Appalachian
That was
police.
sassy. But our language is closer to
Old English.
Old Elizabethan English.
Mm-hmm.
She actually mentioned that at the top.
The pronunciation is right, and everyone else is wrong.
Yep. So get over it, Zach.
Language evolves, and we must modernize.
See, that hillbilly sass coming out there.
It's like, I'll understand when they're talking to me, and I'll know when to run.
Yeah.
But the rest of you guys, you're on your own.
Okay, so I think before we sign off, I had one more book. I did finally, and I'm very happy to say I finished the House Witch trilogy. There are more books that they have written that kind of spin off into that world, and I am excited to start those. But yeah, the House Witch 3, I finished it. It was a lot. There were a lot of emotions, especially towards the end. I got very angry. I got very sad. I cried quite a bit. And then oddly, because I am always attached to characters, I felt very vindicated a couple of times. And yeah, it was just so good. So good. I highly recommend that series. It's just the House Witch and then House Witch 2 and 3. Like, it's super easy to find. And then the author's name is Delem Hawk. Delemhach. It's kind of weird to pronounce and spell, but highly recommend. Love that.
Just as a thing from this book, you can buy it on Kindle for $2 right now. And if you add the audiobook afterwards, the audiobook is only $3 instead of $30. So you can get the whole thing, audiobook and Kindle for $5.
Yep.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Look at us saving y'all money.
Yeah, because if you just buy the audiobook, it's $27.40.
Or save you the most money and come to the library and check it out.
Yeah, we do have all 3 books at the library.
I can't do that, but you guys could do that.
I mean, you could, but you
could
just wouldn't be saving money.
I guess.
I could do that. I actually have it reserved right now, but I went ahead and just bought it because it's $5.
Just buy a plane ticket. Come here, check it out.
No, that's worth it.
We mail books all the time.
Yeah.
Not out of state normally, but we do mail books.
All right, but I think, is that everybody?
Yep, that's all I got.
Yep. All right, our next episode will be my deep dive, and I chose a couple of short stories that are Christmassy. I'm kind of breaking my own rules here. I usually do not read anything Christmas or acknowledge anything Christmas until December, but
Ariel's happy.
But that episode is airing on December 1st, so I feel like it'll be okay that I read it a little bit early so that you guys can get some recommendations for the beginning of Christmas season. Well, for me anyway.
I'm so stoked. I'm starting Christmas right after Halloween.
So I chose Resting Scrooge Face by Megan Quinn and Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien.
Which I have read.
Yeah. And then we'll have a book chat after that. I think we have like a guest speaker. We don't know who that is yet. If we'll have one.
I'll have someone for you if you want them.
All right. Yeah, perfect.
I have a list.
And then our last curiosity of the year, which I don't know what we want to do.
I don't think we've decided one yet. So.
Yeah. No, I don't think we have either. But we have got a couple of weeks to figure that out too. So we hope you enjoyed today's episode. It's time for us to sign off. But before we do, we just wanted to remind you, only the best libraries have librarians who don't shush you.